Hello friends, welcome. Friends, I would like to draw your attention to this headline. This headline talks about quality issues in our mobile network. And it says that 89% of the subscribers report issues. What are these issues? Call drops, poor quality service. And this is a very recent report of 15th May 2025. Now friends, in this video, I am not only going to talk about the reason for this issue, which is quite apparent. There is not a rocket science, if I tell you that these are the reason for call draws, people might already be knowing it. But in this video, I'm going to give you solutions which are going to be optimal in nature and not hypothetical, tuned to the Indian scenario. Means without the mobile operators having to spend huge amount of money. But it will require a lot of willpower from the government of strategic initiative to drive India-specific solutions at the global arena. Unless we do that, we will continue to get driven by global players, and because of the mess that we have created as regards spectrum pricing and license fee and the mismanaged management of low frequency band, we will never be able to solve this problem. Irrespective of whatever technology gets deployed. Today it is 5G, tomorrow it will be 6G, and the day after it will be 7G, and you will continue to get this headline every year, right, from different news dailies. So without wasting any further time, let's get to my presentation. My presentation title is why your 5G uploads are slow. Because ultimately, friends, when the call drop happens, one link of the network is responsible. That is the weakest link. And the weakest link here is the uploads. Because downloads are not a problem. Most of the time, you will be able to get very good download speed. Why you get very good download speed? For example, if you have a base station here, located here, and the base station is transmitting, normally the base station transmit power is going to be pretty high compared to the mobile transmit power. Why? Because base station, the EMF regulation, which is kind of drawn out to prevent health hazard, is not as stringent compared to what it is for mobiles, because you are holding the mobile right in your ears and it is going to cause health hazard. Therefore, mobiles are not allowed to transmit at higher power. So that is one. It is 23 dBm versus base station can be as high as 43 dBm, 45 dBm, right? So you will get a better coverage in this direction, even when you are transmitted at high frequency. But when you transmit at this direction, you will get a very poor coverage if you are transmitting high frequency, and therefore you need to transmit at low frequency when the frequency itself will act as a facilitator to improve coverage, because you know that at low frequency the coverage is better, right? So therefore, we need to fix the uplink. So upload problem has become more pronounced with the modern usage culture that is coming up. What are these? Video calls, reels, cloud sync, and AI processing. Earlier, always download used to be higher, upload used to be less, because more and more people used to download videos, watch movies, etc. But now the mobiles are becoming more and more symmetric. Already told you that mobile phones have the constraint of 23 dBm because of EMF, and India's low tower density is a very big issue. Now, friends, if I went to the internet and did a search India versus China, and I found this China's mobile tower density is significantly higher than that of India. Significant, not just a couple of percentage, 10%, 20%. It is significantly higher. Why? Because China has deployed 5G in 3.5 GHz band. Therefore, they need to enhance the grid of their tower commensurate to 3.5. India has not been able to do it because India's grid density was accustomed to 2.3 GHz LT, right? At least at that level. 3 is much higher than 2.3. Therefore, since India did not spend that much of amount of money on towers because of high license fee spectrum cost, therefore India continues to struggle as regards 5G upload speeds are concerned. Download is very, very good. But as soon as you get inside your house or in the basement or inside somewhere where the coverage of 3.5 is not good, your 5G speeds plummet down to a level that it makes the whole communication completely infeasible. You have to fall back on Wi-Fi. So this is very, very significant, friends. So That is where the problem is. China, Korea, high tower density, better signal reach. India, sparse tower, high load per side. Weak coupling. That is the weakest. That's why call drop, poor quality, on internet experience, and uplink quality define real user experience. Now, friends, how do we improve uplink? Having spent so much amount of money on spectrum license fee and very little money left for deployment of or increasing tower density or capex, and with no motivation because the competition has got plummeted because of Vodafone Idea has become sick, AGR issues, BSNL is struggling, BSNL is kind of going and making marketing claims, not doing real deployment work. So what do? We have lost our leverage. But we have to figure out something different which is going to work and make this problem go away in a manner which not require proportional spend in capex and money. Because we have lot of water has flown under the bridge and we can't unwind that issue, right? So we need to come out with solutions which are technological in nature as well as require regulatory innovation. So the purpose of this presentation is to talk about a technology called supplementary uplink. Now, supplementary uplink can be without using any specific uplink spectrum, which we are going to talk about, L-band. It can be done using the existing spectrum structure, right? So we are going to talk about that. And there is another, thing which is possible, which I am going to ignore in this discussion. So friends, I'll take you through my slide deck, which I'm going to use to explain to you what is SUL, supplementary uplink. Now, friends, just be with me. It may be a new concept to you, but it is so radical that it is going to enhance the network coverage quality significantly. Because ultimately, friends, what happens is that if you are able to make the pipe at the low frequency band better, fatter, your coverage is going to become much better. Because ultimately, the low frequency band is what determines the mobile coverage. Because if the 700 megahertz band was fatter, irrespective of whether you have coverage for 3.5 gigahertz band or not, you will be always assured to get a better uplink speed. Isn't it? So that is where the focus should be. But now, how do we make this 700 megahertz or any other frequency at the low frequency band coverage, much more empowering with a fatter spectrum, better quality to able to get to the mobile tower from the handset? That's all that we are going to discuss here. So conventionally, if there was a common network where no schemes were used, and it was a plain vanilla network, just like we have, most of our devices do not support carrier aggregation. So we have got two different blocks of spectrum. One is 3.5 gigahertz band, right in front of you, where the 5G has been deployed. Typically 100 megahertz for Reliance as well as for Bharti. Reliance has got 130 megahertz in some circle, and 700 megahertz, which is below 3.5. 700, 10 into 2. And this is an FDD band with a guard band in between, in order to prevent any kind of interference between these two blocks of spectrum. Now, 3.5 is a TDD spectrum, which is time shared. So there is no need to create this guard band, no man's land in between. So what happens is, normally, let's say if you are near the base station and you are not doing any carrier aggregation, near the base station, you are going to get switched to 3.5. So your uplink as well as downlink is going to be on 3.5. So you will get a very good high quality speed both on uplink and downlink, because this pipe is pretty thicker. Now, as you move out from the base station, means you are moving far away from the base station, you will be losing the coverage of 3.5 uplink. Downlink will still be there. But since uplink is not available and it is not CA, the operator is going to switch you to 700 megahertz band immediately. So what will happen? You will lose the benefit of 3.5 because the downlink is going to be available. As I told you that the base station transmit at very high power. But uplink, the mobile is transmitting at 23 dBm, so you will lose this band completely. So you will be switched to 700 megahertz. So your speeds are immediately going to decrease, and you will get a 10 megahertz of upload speed, the download speed of 10 megahertz, and the upload speed of 10 megahertz. That's all. So this is without carrier aggregation, since most of the handsets do not support carrier aggregation, the operators do not support carrier aggregation, and therefore, friends, you find that as soon as you are out of the 3.5 gigahertz coverage, your speeds plummets down, and therefore the quality is so poor. Now, friends, with carrier aggregation, there will be some respite, and let me explain how carrier aggregation will help. Now, what is carrier aggregation? I have already explained and spoke about carrier aggregation in this video. I am going to pass a link, paste a link of this video in the description. So you see carrier aggregation explained, and you can understand from this video what is carrier aggregation. But let's talk about carrier aggregation right here to give you a little bit of preview. What is carrier aggregation? Now, in carrier aggregation, what happens, as I told you, in the scenario which is without carrier aggregation, let's say if you are near the base station coverage area here. So what happens is that you are getting both 3.5 as well as 700. So what will happen? Your downlink is going to be 3.5 plus 700, because the 3.5 and 700 are now logically tied together as if that they are a single spectrum block. They are not physically together, but they are logically together. Like, so I showed you 3.5 downlink tied with 700 megahertz downlink, and 3.5 megahertz uplink tied with 700 megahertz uplink. So when you are near the base station, both the bands are available. So you will be able to transmit by integrating 700 as well as 3.5 in this direction, which is downlink, and the uplink you are going to get the benefit of both 3.5 as well as 700. So you will get a fantastic speed. Now, as soon as you are out of the coverage area of 3.5 uplink, because uplink is going to be poor, right? As I told you, 3.5, but you still get downlink. Then what happens is that on the uplink, you are going to get 700, but on the downlink, you are going to get 3.5 plus 700. So you will be able to experience better download speed, but your uplink is going to become poor because you no longer have the benefit of 3.5 gigahertz band uplink coverage, because you are now far away from the base station. Now, if you go still far away from the base station, you lose both 3.5 uplink and 3.5 downlink. Now you are at 700, right? So this is how the carrier aggregation is different from without carrier aggregation. You understood? Now let's go to SUL. Now, SUL, what it does is it kind of forgets about 3.5 megahertz, 3.5 gigahertz band, uplink. It will say that I don't care about uplink because I don't want to rely on whether the uplink is available or not. And it will forget about the 700 megahertz downlink. Why? Because 700 megahertz downlink is only 10 megahertz. It's just a fraction of the 3.5 gigahertz band downlink. So it will integrate the 3.5 gigahertz band downlink with the 700 megahertz uplink, making as if that the uplink of downlink of 700 and uplink of 3.5 gigahertz band is absent. Now this makes the network more simpler, because if you can create a grid density such that 3.5 gigahertz band downlink is available till the edge of the network, you can be assured of a good quality service, because you are not going to be moving back and forth. Your signaling, load that is going to be reduced. So people have seen that SUL is more efficient than CA, and it does not require that much amount of electronics compared to CA. And the cost of the device will also be similar, and there will be complete backward compatibility with legacy device. Now comes the meat of the discussion, SUL plus L-Band. So here what we have done is we have added one more layer here. Friends, we told you that 700 megahertz in India, Reliance has only 10 megahertz, and there is no opportunity for Reliance to get another 10 megahertz of 700 in the same block of spectrum. In 700, there is nothing available. If you go to the TRAI consultation paper and you go down below and see what the government of India has said here in Annexure 5, you will find that 700 megahertz, the total quantum of spectrum that they have shown, 700 is zero. Nothing is available. So 700, since nothing is available, Reliance will not be able to get anything in 700 megahertz. So Reliance might have an option saying that, okay, I have got 800 megahertz, because 800, still there are spectrum available for Reliance to take, and Reliance already has 800 megahertz for LT. So Reliance either can take this block of spectrum and aggregate this block of spectrum with 700 to create a larger block and say carrier aggregation. But as I told you in one of my videos earlier, right, that why this is not a good idea. So if you look at this presentation, which I took you through in one of my video, why 700 and 800 megahertz cannot be combined for CA. Here I argue that when you combine these two RF bands, the signal is going to come from a shared antenna, because it will be a common antenna for 700 and 800. Now you have to separate the signals from two distinct spectrum bands. 700 is distinct, 800 is distinct, and you do so using a diplexer. And then once the diplexer splits this spectrum from the RF signal from two different spectrum, it passes through a bandpass filter for 700, bandpass filter for 800, and then it kind of gets logically combined using a electronic circuitry. But the problem, friends, is that as soon as you use diplexer and use frequency bands which are closely packed together, like 700, 800, 900, the diplexer will give a loss of roughly around 2 dB to 3 dB, which will decrease the coverage of 700 and 800 band combined together. Means it will make the coverage worse than 700 if it was used in a standalone manner. So then what is the point? Because the whole advantage or whole idea is to not only fatten this pipe which we are talking about here, not only fatten this pipe, but also to increase the coverage also, right? Because otherwise you will not get the stretch that you need from the base station. So therefore you don't combine. But fortunately, friends, we have got this L-band. Now L-band is 1.4 gigahertz. Now if you go to the TRI consultation paper, page number 22, I'm going to show you page number 22 here. Where is page number 22? Here, page number 22. You will find the government of India recently has reformed spectrum in 6 gigahertz band, which is completely useless. As I told you that you can't even use 3.5, so what is the point in 6 gigahertz? Okay, 2500 you can do something. But interestingly, they're talking about L-band, 67 megahertz of spectrum available by end of 2026, means 31st December 2026. Now this band can be pretty valuable because it is not adjacent to 700 and it will not result in that kind of diplexer loss that I'm talking about. Now this band can be restructured in TDD format. Now if you restructure this band in TDD and you have got 67 megahertz of spectrum, and even if you are able to get 10 megahertz of this spectrum from L-band, imagine, first of all, this is a high frequency band compared to 700. The cost of this spectrum anyway will be low if you had converted the spectrum into FDD. Now, if you do TDD and do 10 megahertz, 10 megahertz of 700, 2 into 10 megahertz of 700 in the past auction was costing how much? 40,000 crores, $6 billion. So this is going to cost maybe less than 10,000 crores, maybe even less. So with 10,000 crores, you are able to get valuable spectrum which you can combine with your 700 megahertz uplink to create a fatter uplink here. And then what happens, you use the same SUL concept which I explained to you, combine with L-band, and then make the uplink much more thicker compared to the earlier case where you didn't have this ability to combine with an additional spectrum. So this is pretty interesting for India. Why it is interesting? Because we don't have low frequency spectrum. For Reliance, it is a deadlock. Reliance cannot say that I'm going to get 600 megahertz or 800 megahertz because, as I told you, that you can't put another block of 600 megahertz or 800 megahertz here and create a combined block because of the diplexer loss. So this is the best way because the separation is also very good and you can do this. And it can be done by other operators also. Let's say Bharti gets 10 megahertz of 600 megahertz. They can also put a 10 to 15 megahertz of L-band. So this will make the uplink pipe more fatter and it is not going to make the coverage low. And therefore what will happen is in the downlink, you will have a very good coverage for 3.5 and in the uplink, you will be able to make your 700 megahertz uplink pipe much thicker than what we see today. Today it is 10 megahertz, you make it 25 megahertz. So all your problems of poor quality uplink can be resolved as long as you increase the base station density sufficient enough so that you get a coverage of 3.5 till the edge of the network. So this is an excellent solution. But friends, there is a problem here. Let me show you what the problem is. The problem is that if you go to page number 134, let me go to page number 134, you will find that in page number 134, I think 134, yes, 134, where is that page? Let me pause the video and get back. Yeah, I'm back. So if you go to page number not 132, sorry, it was not 134, it was 132. You will find that internationally, 3GP band plan for the L band, which DOT has somehow reformed, is FDD, N74 FDD, and then N51 TDD, N50 TDD, and then we have got N75 SDL. It is called supplementary downlink, not supplementary uplink. Means there is no ecosystem available today in L-band which can do exactly what we need, because people had in the other parts of the world and opened this band much ahead of us. And they have been using this band in the manner it made sense for them at that point of time. Because at that time, increasing the pipe downlink was much more important than increasing the uplink. So we have got SDL here, supplementary downlink, not supplementary uplink. What it means that you have added another block of chunk of spectrum along with, let's say, 2100 megahertz spectrum. Let's say if this was not 700, this was 2100. You add this block which you see here, add it here and make the downlink much more fatter. But in India, we don't need it, right? Now the things have changed. The complete situation have changed. So what we need now is we need to enhance the uplink. And therefore, friends, it is important that India lobbies the world and come out with specification or devices which are embedded with SULs 3.5 for L-band, which can do SUL. Because none of the devices are available. And this can be a very important work item for TSDSI and in India who are talking about 6G and innovation. So why don't you lobby this in the world? Because this is in India's interest and the world is not going to do it unless you pressurize the world to do it. And there are no other alternatives. There are virtually no other alternatives in India. Either you take bunch of spectrum in low frequency band in 600 megahertz at 80,000 or 1 lakh crores, 20 megahertz. Reliance is completely blocked. Reliance cannot do anything right now because 700 there is nothing is available. So friends, this can be a very, very useful solution. And that is why, friends, I was so passionate. And when I went through this whole, TRI consultation paper, and I looked at the spectrum block, which DOT has shared with the TRI, I find that this is completely useless. This is nothing. 26 gigahertz band is completely useless. 6 gigahertz band is completely useless. Because the grid is not even sufficient to take care of 3.5. What you're going to do with 6 gigahertz? You can't increase the base station density by 2 times, 3 times. Operators are not going to do that. So this band is completely useless because you already have UBR for FWA. You don't have to do it. 3.3, nothing much is available. And then rest of the spectrum, it is only incremental. So friends, that's all in this video. I hope that you have understood, what I'm trying to, convey. And this might have resonated with you, and let me know if you have any question in the comment section. I'll come back with a new video and a new topic next time. Thanks for listening till the end.